I think Bitcoin is a better gold than gold. You can move it at the speed of light. You can see with the Lightning Network evolving that pretty soon we'll have 1 billion people able to move any block of Bitcoin anywhere friction-free. And so Bitcoin is digital money for the 21st century. Gold was metallic money for the 19th century. So I just think if you believe in sound money, then you should do yourself a service and you ought to sell your gold and you ought to buy Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is sound money for the 21st century and gold was sound money for the 19th century. Just that simple. You got to take a 4-year or longer time horizon. Bitcoin is outperforming everything in 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 years. So it's that simple. What you want to do is get rich slowly, not get rich quick. And that means that the time-tested technique for investment is you buy high-quality, scarce, desirable property and you hold it forever. And you just got to figure out what is scarce and desirable and high quality. I don't hate on the gold people. I wish they wouldn't hate on me. It's not I don't get the idea. The point I'm trying to make is you want to give music to 1 billion people, give them free digital music. And if you want to give money to 1 billion people, give them digital money. And if you want to give education to 1 billion people, give them digital education. And I love the Steinway piano, and I love a gold watch, you know, and I love MIT in the classroom. But you got to go forward. You can't go back if you want to make the world a better place. If anybody looks at what I've said consistently since September of 2020, what I've said is Bitcoin is scarce, desirable property, and I intend to hold it forever. For the rest of my life, I'm not a speculator. And what I've also said is if you're in a collapsing currency environment, you should have negative working capital. You're better off to have debt than to have equity. And what's happened in the past 2 years is currencies have collapsed. You were better to have debt than equity. When I told people that I like mortgages, the mortgage rate was 2.7%. Mortgage rates nearly doubled. And if you had a chance to take a mortgage at 2.8% and you waited till the mortgage rates went to 5.2%, the cost of your home just went up by 80%. So paying off your home with cash is probably not a good idea when mortgage rates are cheap. Holding cash that's losing 20% of its value is not a good idea. The blue dollar rate is 300 pesos to the dollar. I keep pointing this out. So I think what people, some people just want to find something skeptical or critical to say, but telling people that they ought to buy desirable things and take cheap money to do it and hold it forever is simply the way that you preserve generational wealth, and it's worked that way for a long, long time. And it still works that way. So, you know, I don't apologize for saying I like cheap mortgages, and I don't apologize for saying people should buy Bitcoin. Everybody can decide how much Bitcoin they want to buy versus how much land versus how much art versus how much whatever else they want to own. 2 years ago, Bitcoin was $10,000 a coin. And since I started, gold is down 15% and Bitcoin is up 100%. So for everyone that has the time horizon more than 2 years, your choice is lose 15% of your money or double your money. And if you have a time horizon of less than 2 years, you can't reasonably think of yourself as an investor. You're just a trader or a speculator. If you always adjust it to be less than 2 years or less than a year, then you're always a speculator, right? If you're an investor, you're taking a 4-year time horizon or a 10-year time horizon or a 30-year time horizon. So it's much more...
And, you know,
any advice you're giving to someone for 2 months is just trading advice. We've been in a recession since March of 2020. If you calculated or if you estimated the economy based upon real output and then you adjusted it for the strength of the currency, if the currency loses 20% of its purchasing power and the economy is flat, then you contracted the economy by 20%. So the currency's lost 40% of its purchasing power in the past 2 years. If the economy grew 5%, you're down 35%. So yeah, we're in a recession, but you know, I'm not a macroeconomist, and I don't really care to engage in the debate about what is the definition of a recession or not. The dollar is the strongest medium of exchange in the world, and so it is strengthening against other currencies, but the currencies are the weakest store of value. The foreign currencies are weak store of value assets. So foreign currencies are collapsing. South American currencies, African currency, Sri Lankan currency, you know, Middle Eastern, you know, well, Turkish currency, Lebanese currency, Russian, Ukrainian currencies. Russia, I guess, doing better because they're tied to commodities. But I think that that you've got a basket of strong currencies to be pegged to the dollar, and they're losing 15% of their value or more a year against scarce assets. And then you've got weak currencies that are losing 15% of their value against the dollar, right? If we look, you know, the South African Kruger rand, the Korean won, the Great British pound, the euro, they're all down 11 to 13%. Polish is down 16%. The yen's down 18% over the course of about a year. So they're collapsing against the dollar. And then the developing markets are collapsing 40% against the dollar. So do I think it'll happen? Continue? Yeah. I actually think that in a digital world, the 8 billion people want to hold a dollar. They don't want to hold a local currency. So if I could swap, like name a currency in South America you want to hold other than the dollar. There isn't one. So the only thing that keeps people from swapping all their local currencies for dollars is whether they trust Tether, or whether they can get access to Tether or Circle, right? Right, because UST wasn't a trustworthy dollar, right? And maybe you can't get access. But I think that there's no doubt if you're looking at your bank freezing your assets and devaluing your assets in local currency, you know, you want to hold the US dollar as your medium of exchange. And you want a simple world, or a simple way to see the world. If you need your money in less than 4 years, you probably want to keep it in the dollar. And if you need your money in more than 4 years, if you want to hold it between 4 and 40 years, you put it in property. And the best property in the world is Bitcoin, and the best currency in the world is the dollar. And there are weaker properties like an Airbnb or building or stock, and they're weaker because they've got counterparty risk, and they've got tax risk and execution risk and competitive risk. I think what throws people off is that the stock got volatile. Like the way we've done it is with volatility. The company's stock traded a few $1 million a day when we started. Now it trades hundreds of millions of dollars a day. The open interest and the options have exploded. The stock, you know, has exploded up, exploded down, exploded up. It moves all around, just like Bitcoin, which has gone through almost 3 cycles in the past 2 years. So I would say, to summarize, you know, conventional critics and conventional mainstream analysts, they don't get the crypto economy, they don't understand Bitcoin, and they hate volatility. And those are the people that would tell you, take all your money, put it in a bank account yielding 1% interest, and just don't lose it, and don't bother us. But when we embraced the Bitcoin strategy, we did it because we knew that if we held our cash in a bank account, it was going to lose 20% of its purchasing power per year. And it has, as predicted. The money supply expanded by 40%. Single-family homes in the U.S. have increased in price 40%. If you had $500 million, it would have bought you the 40% less today than it would have bought you 2 years ago. So we had to do something for our shareholders at the time. And that something was buy high-quality digital property. And our choice was, we could suffer a non-volatile slow death, or we could get on a bumpy lifeboat, a big orange lifeboat, the Bitcoin lifeboat, and we're going to appreciate over time. And when I started buying this stuff, Bitcoin was $9,000, $10,000 a coin, and we've just been consistently accumulating Bitcoin. We have not sold any Bitcoin.